Now, Bronte, on to some other sort of diplomacy, and fresh reports that the King and Harry's top aides have held a secret summit. Do we know any of the details?
Yeah, this is very interesting. Of course, we've talked so much about whether a reconciliation...
All right, so here's the scoop. Harry is pulling the Invictus Games into his drama again. He's mad at the CEO, Scott Moore, because he didn't get VIP-level security for the 2027 games in Birmingham. But people think this isn't really about safety at all. It's more about the fact that nearly $30 million linked to the games has mysteriously gone missing. And now everyone's asking where that money went.
Of Prince Harry's new Chief Communications Officer, who is US-based, meeting with the King's Chief Communications Secretary and also one of the Sussex's UK-based PR.
The thing that once made Harry proud is now a total mess. And the guy who used to act all royal now looks stuck and desperate. He didn't ask for security, he demanded it, like he still wore the crown. Insiders say he wanted royal-level protection, but since he gave all that up, people are like, sorry, that's not how it works anymore.
The fact that Harry said he didn't know how long his father had left, but at the same time, perhaps it served as that impetus for them to all get together, get in the same room and start saying, how are we going to end this for good? So that was very interesting. It's also been reported that Harry's Chief Communications Secretary, who was at that...
So here's where things really blew up. Harry doesn't even qualify for that kind of royal-level protection anymore, especially not when the money would come from a charity meant to help veterans. But even after being told no by CEO Scott Moore and the Invictus board, Harry wasn't having it. Instead of letting it go, he went full meltdown. And insiders say he brought in his lawyers who claimed Moore put his life at risk and broke trust. And that threat wasn't the end. It just kicked off even more drama.
Can't wait to see the photos and footage out of that. Now, you said to us last time you were on the show that you'd be heading to Poland for the 80th anniversary commemoration of the liberation of Auschwitz. Look, here is the King speaking at the Jewish Community Centre in Krakow.
Even said that Moore tried to ruin Harry's image and messed up chances for future sponsors. But people who saw the document said it was super dramatic, full of emotions, and didn't really have much legal weight, like it felt more like Harry was trying to scare them than actually win something real.
Shape our future.
Now, we're going to show some of your personal photos as well, but what are your reflections on the commemoration?
Well, a true assault on the senses.
But by going that far, Harry might have messed up big time, because what he didn't see coming was Moore refusing to back off. Instead, Moore said, fine, let's look into everything, and ordered a deep check into the Invictus money trail, especially the stuff that happened after Harry left royal life. And boom, that's when the real shock came. Missing invoices, weird payments, and deals with companies that Harry and Meghan either started or supported, and some of the biggest chunks of money went to so-called event consulting that didn't even make sense.
To visit Auschwitz and such an important occasion such as the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the former camp. And you saw King Charles become quite emotional at some points, listening to the stories of survivors at the commemorations. I was there.
Things really started to heat up when they saw how much money was being thrown around, like transport costs suddenly tripled. And all these fancy ad campaigns barely reached any actual veterans. And even though Harry and Moore never fully got along, this is the first time their fight is out in public. Moore, who's a respected Canadian veteran, had been quietly worried for a while, saying Hollywood influence from the Sussex side was changing what Invictus was meant to be. And when Harry tried to take charge of everything for the Birmingham event, Moore finally said enough, and that's when the whole thing turned into a power battle that's got everyone talking.
And he was asking pertinent questions. He was talking about the young children that were snatched from their mothers when they arrived at Auschwitz. He was looking at the tiny shoes, talking about his own research. He'd learned about children as young as 2 had been sent to the gas chambers. And his guide, Marta, who'd been working there for over a decade, told me that she really felt he had...
This money mess is turning into a major storm. Invictus gets support from big brands, global groups, and everyday donors. So when $30 million can't be explained, it's not just a small issue. It's a huge blow blow to their trust. Now, sponsors are feeling the heat and being pushed to show where every dollar went. What used to be quiet talk about maybe doing an audit has now become full-blown investigations. And instead of protecting himself, Harry's bold legal move might have just thrown fuel on the fire.
Community cohesion. He's worked with a lot of interfaith leaders, and I thought it really had a profound effect on him, as it did for me. It's certainly a place I'll never forget going to, and listening to the stories of the survivors, a real special occasion, and something we should all heed to never forget.
Inside the Invictus team, things are getting tense. People working there say it doesn't feel right anymore, and some staff have already quit, saying they couldn't agree with how things were being handled. One former team member even said Invictus used to be about healing, but now it feels like it's all about power. And the veterans, who used to be the heart of it all, are now pushed to the side in what's starting to look like a fame-focused empire. And the craziest part is Harry always talked about serving others and making Invictus a space for veterans. But now his recent moves are going against everything he once claimed to stand for.
And I don't know anyone who it hasn't changed. But also this week, and in a totally different vein, the King and Queen held a reception at Buckingham Palace for the MPs. Many familiar faces in attendance, Russell. Tell us about this event which kicked off the beginning of the parliamentary year.
Well, it's been
This was never supposed to be a royal show, but Harry wanting top-level security while staying quiet about the missing money is making people talk hard. Critics are saying, if he really cared, like he says he does, he'd be open about everything, take normal security like everyone else, and stop making the games all about himself. With the Birmingham event getting closer, the pressure is getting real. Not just from the people checking the money, but also from the veterans, who were always meant to be the focus. Many of them are now quietly saying they're upset that what started as a powerful mission has turned into a messy mix of legal fights, flashy press, and wild spending. And now there's talk that maybe the games should move on without all this drama.
This is a really important event for him as well, because when there is a new session in Parliament, the monarch of the day invites all the new MPs to Buckingham Palace, and you could see a few of the newbies jostling for position, trying to get their photo opportunity. Nigel Farage was at one side of the room, I was told, and trying to get close.
But maybe it's time the games go on without Harry leading the way. Some say the whole thing needs a fresh start, where it's about the real mission, not royal status. And in what feels like a final bold move, Scott Moore has now approved the release of every single message about Harry's security and spending demands. And once those papers go public, people might finally see what's really been happening behind closed doors. And if all the talk about misused money turns out to be true, this won't just hurt Harry's name. It could totally wipe out the last bit of public love he still has with the Birmingham Games coming fast. Everything's shaking around his Invictus world, and what happens next could all come down to what's revealed in court and audits, and in the real truth that's starting to spill out from behind the scenes.
Certainly, it's great to see King Charles doing these engagements again, because they are coming thick and fast throughout the start of the year. Of course, we've got his trip to Italy coming up as well in the spring. So fingers crossed he'll be fit and fighting fit for that trip, because he'll be looking forward to it.
Well, he has started the year very strongly, so let's hope.
It all started when Harry pushed for top-level security at the 2027 Birmingham Games, but got shut down by CEO Scott Moore. And instead of stepping back, he went straight to legal threats. But that bold move ended up exposing way more than he expected. With money troubles and internal drama spilling out, now people are starting to doubt everything he's done with Invictus. And in part 2, the tension explodes. That one security demand kicked off a full-blown crisis, and now key board members are quietly stepping away from Harry. One advisor even called the whole situation toxic, saying the games used to bring people together, but now it's just full of drama tests of loyalty and messy PR moves. And that advisor also said Harry still acts like he's in charge and keeps asking for royal-level perks. Ever since Harry started pushing for extra treatment that nobody else gets, it's been making people both in the UK and around the the world who once believed in him slowly step away, and right after he threatened to sue insiders, say the Invictus Foundation's own compliance team started sending out memos quietly pointing out more than a dozen money issues going all the way back to 2023. Some of the biggest problems were strange payments sent to American consulting companies, and a lot of them seemed to have some kind of link to Archwell. One payment was over $1.7 million, and it was labeled as strategic veteran engagement, but there's no proof that any real sessions or veteran programs ever happened, and another $2.3 million was listed under digital impact outreach. But all they got for that were a couple of short videos, some social media posts, and ads that can't even be tracked. And the weirdest part is, while all this drama is exploding, Harry has stayed completely silent, and his lawyers haven't explained anything at all. And as for Meghan, she hasn't said one single thing, and now people are seriously wondering if even she wants nothing to do with this mess anymore. And with no word from them, no message to the veterans, no update for the donors, and nothing for the public, this silence is starting to speak louder than words, and it's making the whole situation look even worse. Now, more and more people are starting to question if Harry and Meghan ever plan to deal with this mess, or if they're just trying to wait it out and hope it disappears on its own. And the voices getting louder aren't just critics or online trolls, they're the veterans themselves. The ones this whole movement was meant to help and support. A group of former Invictus athletes from Australia, Canada, and Germany finally broke their silence and posted a powerful open letter on social media saying they feel betrayed and disrespected. They said they joined the games to heal, to connect, and to grow, not to get stuck in the middle of some celebrity drama. Their letter went viral fast, and people from all over the world started talking about how Invictus feels like it's losing its heart and soul. Supporters who once saw the games as a light of hope are now questioning what it's really become. And while that storm builds online, things are heating up in the UK too. Members of Parliament who once clapped for Harry and praised Invictus are now speaking out. One MP stood up and said that any money coming from the government to support Invictus should be frozen right now until someone does a full audit and explains exactly where all the money has gone. That demand hit hard, and it especially shook military families and charity watchdogs who've been warning for a long time that once you mix serious charity work with Hollywood fame, things usually go sideways, and that's the heart of what's going wrong. The Invictus Games used to be raw, emotional, real, all about healing and honoring the bravery of wounded veterans. But lately, it's been taken over by red carpets, slick branding, and picture-perfect moments. Sources close to the organization say everything now feels like it's being run through a PR machine with fancy promo videos, glossy merchandise, and curated photo shoots that make it all look beautiful. But behind the scenes, actual athlete support has dropped, with reports of budget cuts, promises not being kept, and resources drying up for the people who need it most. And what makes it worse is that Harry once launched Invictus with real passion and love for veterans. But now it seems like that genuine spirit is being buried under a mountain of image control and expensive distractions. If you're someone who wants the real truth, not the fake polished stories they show on camera, then hit that subscribe button right now and join Taylor Tells All. This is where we spill every secret, every royal twist, every Hollywood cover-up. Nothing is hidden and nothing is sugar-coated, so don't wait. Come be part of Taylor Tells All, where the gossip is real and the truth always wins. Now, more and more people are starting to question if Harry and Meghan ever plan to deal with this mess, or if they're just trying to wait it out and hope it disappears on its own. And the voices getting louder aren't just critics or online trolls, they're the veterans themselves. The ones this whole movement was meant to help and support. A group of former